Before I start this video, there's something I'd like to say. Anyone who knows this channel for a while also knows about Dragon Ball Hakai, which is one of the biggest Dragon Ball fan stories in the entire world. Producing Dragon Ball Hakai has been a dream for all of us here at the Hakai channel, especially because of you who really like our story. But unfortunately, Dragon Ball Hakai may end, and the reason for this is that although we love producing this story very much, the production costs are very high, and we are no longer able to sustain this cost alone. To continue with Dragon Ball Hakai, we need the support of those of you who love this story, and you can do it from a very small amount, like $5 a month. By helping the channel financially, in addition to helping continue Dragon Ball Hakai production, you'll have access to benefits that I'm sure you'll enjoy. So, check out our Patreon to find more. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. I'm not kidding, guys. Dragon Ball Hakai needs you to stay alive, so please help us if you can.
Previously in Dragon Ball Hakai, Gohan and Piccolo were taken by Pikkon to the planet of the gods, a celestial world where lives the heroic deities who, in the past, died fighting evil. On this planet, Gohan met Yamoshi, the first Super Saiyan god, and it was Yamoshi who was responsible for his training. Meanwhile, Piccolo was taken by Pikkon to a place called the Desert of Perdition, where he found a place called the Ruins of Zarama, and in those ruins Piccolo discovered on a wall where there are engravings that explain a type of ritual that, if completed, will transform him in the great Namek god. Unfortunately, Piccolo couldn't finish his understanding of the ritual because he wasn't a complete being yet, and to become that being, Piccolo goes to Namek to use the Dragon Balls to revive his father, the feared king of evil, Piccolo Daimao. Upon defeating his father in battle, Piccolo begins the fusion process with him. However, Piccolo Daimao does not accept being dominated so easily, and Piccolo seems to be in trouble. Episode 29, Piccolos Temptation. Will evil reign in his heart? After the fusion of Piccolo Jr. and Piccolo Daimao, Piccolo's body remains and his father's body disappears. However, he is completely still, as if he was sleeping on his feet and with his eyes open. Pikkon approaches curious. Pikkon says, "What's going on?" Piccolo emits a very powerful ki, but his ki is out of control, and he appears to be completely asleep. The Guru of Namek approaches to explain. Right now, a battle for dominance over Piccolo's body is taking place. Pikkon asks, worried, "You mean the father is trying to dominate the son's body?" The Guru confirms and explains, "Yes, probably in the fusions that Piccolo has done so far, with Nail and that of Kami-sama, he had full permission from them to remain in control of everything, making his conscience the dominant one among the others. It's just that Piccolo Daimao isn't giving him the facility, and since this situation is a surprise for Piccolo, he probably wasn't prepared to deal with something like this." Pikkon asks, "And what happens now?" The elder explains, "If Piccolo's son wins, everything will be fine. He will retain his body dominance and will have much greater power than before. However, if Piccolo's father wins, he will retain his evil conscience and will have access to all of his son's powers." After explaining this to Pikkon, the Guru gives him an annoyed look. "It was your idea to do this, and now my planet and my people are in danger with the possibility of this evil being winning. I hope you have enough power to stop Piccolo if necessary." Pikkon tenses up as he thinks. "Even though Piccolo has greatly increased his powers, they still don't compare to mine, so I'm not in any danger, but that's not the problem. The problem is that if Piccolo Daimao wins, he may not want to act according to my plans and ruin everything." Meanwhile, inside his mind, Piccolo is in the midst of what appears to be an abyss. Where there is only darkness, he asks himself, "Where am I?" And then he hears a voice. Piccolo Daimao says, "You don't recognize it? This is your subconscious." He starts looking for his father, but doesn't see him. Not going to show up? As soon as Piccolo asks this, the shadow, whose only highlight is its red eyes, appears behind him. "But I'm already here." Piccolo already turns around with an attack, but the shadow vanishes. Right after that, the shadow grabs him by the ankle and starts pulling him down. As he's carried down, the great sea of darkness becomes a blue sky, and Piccolo continues to descend until he arrives at an utterly devastated ground. He recognizes that place as planet Earth, but don't know where. He asks, "What is this place?" As he looks around, Piccolo sees his father in the sky, and towards him goes Goku, still a child, propelled by a Kamehameha. He asks his father, "Is this the moment of your death?" Piccolo King responds in his still distant voice, "Yes, that's the moment I was killed. But it's not my death I want you to pay attention to, but what I say afterwards." Then the evil Piccolo says,
"Good luck, my son. Get revenge for my demise. Destroy all of my enemies."
See? See how much faith I placed in you. All my lineage, all my belief in domination, and the desire to have my death avenged. I have pinned all my hopes on you. The son argues, that's your problem. Who said I needed to agree with your thoughts? The father replies, well, but you agreed. At that moment, Piccolo Daimao's shadow appears on Piccolo's back and pulling him by his cape, flies away at high speed as the son shouts, let me go. The father agrees. As you wish. Piccolo Daimao's shadow hurls Piccolo in front of a country house. Looking at that location, Piccolo doesn't immediately recognize the place, but when he looks closely, he notices a wagon with a giant egg parked in front of the house. I recognize this place. It's the place of my birth. King Piccolo continues his convincing work. See how promising you were, a brave child, determined to avenge his father's death. But Piccolo continues to resist his father's arguments. I was just an alienated brat. But the elder's arguments are not over yet. He says, but it didn't end there. Piccolo Daimao's shadow reappears and grabs Piccolo from behind without giving him time to react, then takes flight. Annoyed with that happening all the time, he complains. Damn it, stop doing those things. Piccolo is again hurled from the sky and lands directly on the ground. This time he hears the sound of a crowd screaming. When he finally gets up and looks around, he sees that he is at the martial arts tournament. Looking at the arena, he sees his past self fighting hard against Goku. This is the tournament where I face Goku for the first time. King Piccolo says, see my son, see how you fought with all your strength for the honor of your late father, which was exterminated by that accursed brat. As Piccolo looks intently at the fight, Piccolo Daimao's shadow appears at his side and points his hand at the scenery in front of him. It abruptly changes to a moment where Piccolo is in his giant form and Goku make him a fool, hitting him a series of blows. The father provokes the son. See how that bastard played with you? How he humiliated you? The sight of that scene makes Piccolo uncomfortable to the point that he doesn't even care about his father standing beside him. He argues, but not as confident as before. So what? That is all the past. But his father argues, but it's a past still present inside you. Again, the shadow points a hand at the scenery, and it changes to the moment when the entire arena had been destroyed, and there was only a desolate scenery around. At that moment, Goku punished Piccolo with several blows. King Piccolo continues with provocative arguments. Look at that. Do you not bother with these depressing memories? Now Piccolo is very annoyed. Stop that nonsense. You want to prove that Goku defeated me? Yes, he defeated me. So what? The elder Piccolo says, not only did he defeat you, he also broke you. The younger Piccolo asks confused, broke me? The elder explains, of course, you do not realize. Where is that ambition of yours for domination? Where is the importance you gave to your origins and your goals? Where is that desire to be the best? You just got used to being inferior and living this mediocre life inside these people who have nothing to do with you. In denial, Piccolo says, I don't know what you're talking about. But his father emphasizes, you do know. You know that as much as you are with these people, you still feel alone and misunderstood. You are always more detached from others because you are not familiar with them. And you know that the moment I laid eyes on you, the first second I looked at you, you felt that someone understood you much better than all those people. Sad and confused, Piccolo denies. That isn't true. But his father insists, it is. If it weren't, why in your conscience is there all that darkness that I showed you at the beginning? With the snap of his fingers, Piccolo Daimao makes the same abyss that Piccolo was in at the beginning reappear. Piccolo doesn't say anything and his father gets closer to him, touching his shoulder. Come on, my son. You don't have to feel alone anymore. Piccolo Daimao reaches out with his other hand to touch Piccolo's head, who doesn't react. However, before his father touches him on the head, another shadow approaches and pushes Piccolo Daimao away while he shouts in fury, Damn you! Piccolo Daimao disappears into the abyss, and when Piccolo looks at whoever pushes his father, he sees that it's Kami-sama. Kami? What do you want? The elder Earth God replies, Piccolo, don't let that bastard break your spirit. But the young Namekian says, revealing his weakness, What can I do, Kami? Deep down, he's right. Everything he showed is embedded in the innermost part of my head. Kami-sama says, Don't you know what a treacherous person your father is, Piccolo? He only showed you that part of your conscience that interested him, the dark part that you abandoned a long time ago. With the snap of his fingers, Kami-sama completely changes the scenery around. And then Piccolo finds himself in the mountainous land of planet Earth. And there his past self was training with Gohan.
Yeah, but my dad used to tell me. He said ever since you were reborn, you're not nearly as bad as you used to be. He said now you're more grumpy than evil. I don't know, I think he was kinda right.
Full of nostalgia, Piccolo says, This is the time when I trained Gohan for the battle against the Saiyans. Good times. Kami-sama says, Yes. And remember how much you grew attached to that boy during that time? until Kami-sama snaps again, and the scene changes to the moment when Nappa fires a huge blast of ki at Gohan, and Piccolo steps in to save him.
Gohan, you're the only real friend that I've ever had. I want to thank you. You're like the son I never had. I'm proud of you.
The Elder God says, that day you experienced the purest of human feelings, love. A love so intense that it made you risk your life for a child. Kami-sama continues, and look how this child became sad and angry after your death. That meant your feelings were reciprocated, Piccolo. Happy to what he's seeing, Piccolo says, I was dead, so I didn't remember that part. Then Kami-sama snaps his fingers again, and the scene changes again. This time to the Tournament of Power, when Gohan and Piccolo fought against Saonel and Pilina, the Namekians from Universe 6. While seeing this, Piccolo says with joy, that moment I remember well. Kami-sama says, see how important you are to him to the point of risking his life for you. Piccolo says, you're not alone. You have Gohan, your most sincere friend and disciple. And not just him, you have Goku, me, and everyone else who decided to trust you and give you another chance. Now full of determination, Piccolo says, no need to say more, Kami. Suddenly, Piccolo Daimao Shadow returns and grabs Kami-sama's shadow. They start pushing each other. The Demon King says, get out here, you bastard. This is my son. The Elder Earth God replies, it might be your son, but he's not a bastard like you. Piccolo, in an act that surprises both Piccolo Daimao and Kami-sama, holds them back, each with one hand. It's time for you two to become one again. With a single movement, Piccolo crushes Kami-sama's shadow with Piccolo Daimao's shadow, and the two bodies merge into one. Soon after, both shadows merge with his body, so a very powerful light spreads throughout the darkness. On Namek, everyone is standing watching Piccolo when suddenly a red glow takes over his eyes at the same moment that an energy aura surrounds his body. And at that moment, several rays, thunder and lightning, as well as windstorms, hurricanes, earthquakes, and tsunamis begin to appear all over the planet. Everyone around hides scared except for Paikon, who watches everything anxiously. And after a few minutes, Piccolo's ki finally normalizes and the planet's weather anomalies end. After all this, Piccolo looks at Paikon as a red glow in his eyes slowly fades until it no longer exists. Paikon smiles. Now I can feel your ki more clearly, and I realize it's not bad. It seems that you managed to master the evil nature of your father, Piccolo. Piccolo says, I feel a power I've never felt. And more than that, this time I feel truly complete, as if I have achieved an understanding of myself that I never had. Paikon says, that's good. So we're ready for the next step, making you a god. While all this was happening on Namek in the great forest of the planet of gods, Gohan was training with the first Super Saiyan god Yamoshi. The goal of Gohan's training was to teach him how to sense divine ki, so that he would be better while fighting deities. To train Gohan, Yamoshi sent him to capture several divine birds, so that he would learn to feel their ki at least. Even after managing to capture the birds and feeling the divine ki, a little better Gohan was still easily defeated by Yamoshi, and this leaves him very frustrated. But then Yamoshi reveals the true purpose of his training. Don't worry, Gohan. Beating me isn't your goal. The aim of your training is to become a god. Very surprised, Gohan asks, become a god? Are you serious? The Saiyan god says, seriously. I see that ability in you, Gohan. The Saiyan mortal says, I thought that to become a Super Saiyan god we had to perform a ritual with 5 pure-hearted Saiyans. Although on second thought, I think Mr. Vegeta reached that stage without doing that ritual. Yamoshi explains better. The ritual is just one way to reach that level, and it's also the most flawed. Since the Saiyan acquires the form without mastering the divine ki, it tends to take longer to master it. The best way to learn this form is as we are doing, learning to feel and understand divine ki, then summon it into your body and finally achieve transformation. The best way to do this is to be with divine beings and mainly fighting with them. After explaining this, Yamoshi makes a loud whistle and makes a come sign with his hand. And from the middle of the trees of the great forest, 3 people come out who have the clothes and earrings of the Supreme Kais. A plump, older-looking man, a tall, burly man, and a woman. Confused, Gohan asks, huh? Had Supreme Kais been watching my training? When the 3 approach, it is the woman who answers him. We've been watching you since the beginning of your training, son Gohan. You just didn't notice us because you couldn't sense our ki. The Saiyan asked, surprised, do you know my name? Who answered this time was the oldest Kaioshin. We know everything about you, son Gohan. You were one of the greatest heroes who helped in the battle against Majin Buu. The Saiyan comments, so you know all this? Amazing. But then the tallest and most robust Kaioshin speaks in a critical tone. You are strong, son Gohan. We saw how you faced Majin Buu, but although your body is strong, your mind is too weak, and that's why you failed in your battle. Now he is depressed. You're right. I'm very ashamed of that, sir. Yamoshi introduces the three Supreme Kais. Gohan. The elder-looking one is Goraisu, the former Supreme Kai of the North. This woman is Shia, the former Supreme Kai of the West. And that greatest is Korak, the former Supreme Kai of the South. They were all hero gods who gave their lives in the fight against Majin Buu many years ago. Gohan bows to the three in a respectful form of greeting. It's a great pleasure to meet you. But Yamoshi, much more relaxed, says, well, let's drop the formalities, shall we? Gohan, they are here to help you with your training. Your objective is to fight them. Fight them? Asks Gohan, surprised. Yamoshi confirms. Exactly. Fighting the gods will make you not only aware of Divine Ki, but understand it much better. This is the next step in your training. But there's no need to take it easy on them. They've been training here on the planet of the gods since their deaths, so they're much stronger than when we faced Majin Buu. If you let your guard down, you'll be seriously hurt. Right, says Gohan, and then he begins to concentrate his power, releasing his mystical form, exhaling a white aura shrouded in light. After that, he makes his combat stance and calls the Supreme Kais to fight. Gohan is looking forward to the next phase in his training, which will be facing the three legendary Kaioshins who died fighting Majin Buu in the past. Will Gohan be able to defeat them and understand Divine Ki to the point of becoming a god? And about Piccolo, will he be able to continue the ritual to become a Namekian god now that he has truly become a complete being? Find out in the next episodes of Dragon Ball Hakai.